Originally, asylums were meant to be a place of escape for the mentally ill. They had such poor conditions in older facilities, like being chained to beds, and the plan was to get them better treatment. It seemed to work at first, but slowly funding became constricted and more people were sent to institutions with deteriorating conditions and fewer staff. This led to many being shut down and abandoned. Which brings us to this list today. Hi most amazing fam, I'm your host Abby, and today I'm bringing you top 10 insane asylums that are the most haunted. And before we get into the video, do you hear that? That's the sound of another contest coming in. So in this contest, you could win a signed Most Amazing hoodie and $100. Woo! All you have to do to enter is like us on Facebook and comment on our latest Facebook exclusive video and give it a like. The title is Spiced It Up, and me and Shay were eating peppers and hot sauce and doing some dares. So go check it out and enter. But alright, now it's time for the list. Starting us off at number 10 is the ARADALE Mental Hospital. This is an Australian psychiatric hospital. Patients got there in 1865 and it was closed in 1998. Electroconvulsive therapy and transorbital lobotomies were common practice, which not even children were excluded from. It was explored by John and Deb Christopher of the Drifter Paranormal Investigative Team, and they experienced a lot they couldn't explain. They went in with a ton of equipment and they encountered what they believed to be a friendly child ghost, or specter, that set off their K2 EMF meters in sequence. It was as if the ghost was running past them. Now, they said the feeling in that room was lovely, like a playing feeling because of the ghosts or spirits that were there, but that was their nicest encounter of the time there. They heard other sounds and wheezing, whistling noises, and the sound of furniture being dragged, but as John said, there is no bloody furniture there. So the pair physically saw some cell doors moving and other things, and got a bit of a creepy feeling. And they said yes, it was a windy night, so maybe that could be the doors, but they were in the middle of the building and hadn't noticed any drafts. So if you want to test out that location yourself, there are paranormal tours on most weekends, so maybe give it a try. At number 9 is another Australian asylum, BEECHWORTH Lunatic Asylum. So we have talked about this place before, but that's because it's worthy of so many of our lists. A lot goes on there. It's haunted by many ghosts, including a specter that people have seen lying on the ground below a window. That woman specter was pushed out the window because another patient wanted her cigarettes. Now, one of the scariest sections of this asylum is the area that practice electroshock therapy. Visitors of the area today say that area is colder than others. Now, this could be because of the haunting idea of the practices that occurred there, or it could be because the ghosts of the people who died in the asylum linger there in hopes of escaping their past pain. Other visitors have heard sounds of children laughing and playing, and one woman went with her son and saw him talking to himself. Her son said he was talking to a boy named James who lived in the asylum, but there was no one there. Little unsettling, but hopefully it was a nice conversation, you know? Hopefully. On to number 8. PARC in Wales. Now, this building in Wales was used for many different things, but one use was an asylum. The Gothic-inspired architecture only adds to the creepy effect this abandoned building has. And while it may transition into another building, that hasn't stopped many from exploring its sites while they can. Jason Griffiths, of a group called the Ouija Brothers, saw his friend attacked by an aggressive spirit and possibly even possessed here. He wasn't even surprised at the time. He said, "There's a very dark, heavy presence at PARC, and if you don't listen to it and pay it attention, it makes itself known. You can feel when he's near, the surrounding energy becomes heavy." Now, it's a very active site in terms of the unknown and paranormal, with people having their shirts tugged by mysterious forces, to seeing figures in windows of empty rooms. At number 7 is ELOISE Hospital. In its busy days, over 12,000 patients lived there. It was nearly its own city, pretty much. It had a lot to provide for them. Now, when people have explored it nowadays, they have heard moans, roars, and screams on the grounds of the old psychiatric hospital. An employee reported that children saw a figure he couldn't see, and that the buildings had strange shadows. The basement of this building is especially creepy, as it was flooded by water for many years and wasn't explored for a very long time. When it was explored by a group called Detroit Paranormal Expeditions, they described their experience as eerie. They heard shuffling noises as if some of the old resident spirits remained, and although it undergoes transformation into a mixed-use residential complex, it is assumed that the spirits haunting the area still remain and their emotional energies are lingering there. Let's move on to number 6, NUMMELA Sanatorium in Finland. Now, this was built as a tuberculosis sanatorium and was replaced with a mental hospital in 1932. The mental hospital was shut down in 1989, and since then, local rumors have spread of sightings in the hospital. The local lore talks about 2 different legends in addition to mysterious lights showing up in the building. The first legend is that the hospital is haunted by a spirit of a young girl who died there. She causes cold drafts, lights to flicker, and taps on the shoulders of people as if it's a playful game. Now, the second legend is that an apparition appears on the roof. It looks like a woman, and then she jumps off, causing onlookers to panic. But when they get to her to help, she's disappeared. But let's not hold on any longer, let's jump to number 5. We have ALLEGHENY Lunatic Asylum. Now, this asylum opened up in 1864 and was built to house 250 people for treatment, but it swelled up to almost 2,400 people in the 1950s. The asylum even offered money to anyone who dropped off a patient, which obviously led to people who shouldn't have been admitted to be admitted. Now, the spirits of the asylum range in their stories. There was a little girl named Lily who was born in the asylum, a man named Jesse who died of a heart attack in a bathtub, some Civil War stories, and one story of a patient who was brutally murdered by his roommates. Allegedly. Now, the ghosts in here are known to turn lights on and off, some like cigarettes, and this location is an asylum you can tour for yourself as they now charge for historical and paranormal tours. You can even stay overnight, but you can't sleep there. But let's move on to number 4, Bethlem Royal Hospital, aka Bedlam Asylum. The term Bedlam, meaning a scene of uproar and confusion, or chaos, or madness, came from this place. Bedlam. And it's understandable how the term came from this place once you look at its history. It used to be a psychiatric institution in London that began in the 1400s, way back, and patients were locked up in chains and the treatments used on them bordered on torture. The residents of the areas surrounding the hospital complained about the sounds of cryings, screechings, roarings, brawlings, shaking of chains, swearings, frettings, and chafings. So the ghosts don't just haunt the Royal Hospital, but also Liverpool Station, since the station was built over the cemetery of the facility back in 1874. In the late 18th century, screams were heard in the area, and back in 2000, a ghost was recorded on closed-circuit TV at the station. So the ghosts all over London at that point, just because of that one place. Total bedlam. At number 3 is GONJIAM Psychiatric Hospital. Now, this hospital has so many legends that there's even a movie based on it. It's known as one of the most haunted places in South Korea. It was demolished in 2018, but that wasn't before many teams explored it after hearing all of the legends. It is said that it closed suddenly in the 90s due to an overwhelming amount of patient deaths. There were stories of mad doctors gone insane and doing experiments on the patients. The more logical reason that went around as a rumor to explain the closure was that it was no longer up to code. Either way, strange happenings were recorded by those who went there and explored. There were doors opening on their own, warnings not to go into room 402, glass shards being thrown across hallways, and demons scratching visitors. All of that, you name it. Now, GONJIAM didn't get its reputation for nothing. There are also rumors of shadows, voices, moans, and screams, but I guess that's typical in all the scary places. Not fun. But let's go on to number 2, Letchworth Village. Letchworth Village was a residential institution that opened in 1911. Now it is overtaken by nature, as it has been just left to be. People who walk among the buildings report feeling overwhelming sadness. Visitors also report hearing furniture scraping across floors in the buildings, heavy footsteps, disembodied whispers, and tapping, knocking, and rapping on the peeling stained walls. So similar to other paranormal places, there are rooms that become suddenly cold, but there is just so much paranormal activity at Letchworth. There are possible poltergeists that fling belongings and turn lights on and off, plus people record a lot of EVP phenomena. Now, the scariest thing a group reported was that they came across a 7-foot-tall apparition with its legs bent back. It stalked towards them with glowing white eyes. If I saw that, I don't know what I would do. Probably run away very quickly. And others have felt pushed, shoved, or held down by mysterious forces while exploring, so if you decide to check it out, be warned. There's a lot. But let's go on to our number 1, POVEGLIA Island. So this island is known for a lot of supernatural happenings, but there was a large mental hospital on the island that ran from 1922 to 1968. There's a legend that one mental health doctor there tortured, butchered, and ate many of the patients. Now, this is allegedly before he went mad and jumped to his death from the bell tower, but I would argue that he was probably mad before that if he was eating patients. Now, the legend states that it wasn't the fall that actually killed him when he jumped from the tower, but a mist that came up from the ground and strangled him. Now, the ruins of the hospital remain on the island to this day, but it is now illegal to step foot on the island. This is due to the number of haunted happenings that go on there. Now, there's said to be many plague spirits on the island from the number of bodies dumped there during the plague, as well as the spirits of those harmed by the doctor from the mental hospital. But that being said, that's all I have for you today. Those were the top 10 insane asylums that are the most haunted, and what do you think? Let me know down below, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified for all of our videos. Also, make sure to enter our contest, because what do you got to lose? So, I've been Abby, and until next time, have a good one. Goodbye. Mama made me mash my M&Ms. There we go. It's fine. We're good. Just going insane slowly. convulsive, okay. Electroconvulsive therapy and transorbital lob... Okay.